The reason why people are like saying this is a psyop is for two reasons. I don't think it is, for the record, and I'll tell you why.
I'm going to give you information that you have never seen before about how and why this is a false flag. I'm going to suggest that it's kind of a bad thing that they're humanizing the people who were literally murdered. But by the way, I don't actually believe it. I'm not touching you right now. That's what he's doing right here.
I think this is just one dude who is genuine in his actions.
Who would ever interpret this as support?
People with maybe a little bit too much pattern recognition turn around and go, ooh, they probably executed these like low-level Israeli diplomats.
What the f? If he doesn't feel like he's even close to partially responsible, then why did he purge his Discord server? He's literally just reading the manifesto with no pushback. What is this? This video is very clear from the start, desperately trying to say this is a false flag and Israel hurt itself to make it look like a victim. But probably not. That's all this is. All right, guys. Hassan Parker got banned and unbanned in like a day. So I'm just curious what his response is. It's funny, I saw a clip from XQC talking about how back in the day, at least, they would like reach out to you, the big creators, before they got banned, to try to like coordinate it with you so you wouldn't necessarily lose anything. So apparently he was banned. You know, he may have been banned when he was already going to take like a scheduled day off, right? Here's the context of why he got banned. I saw it. I'm like, yeah, this makes sense why he would get banned. Let's watch that first and then see what he has to say about his... a little bit, just, you know, it's a little jarring watching him stare right at me. But let's watch this first.
Either this is an adventurist who thought that he would get like Luigi Mangione level prominence off of this.
Oh yeah, and it's about the shooter, the person who shot the Jewish museum, they killed 2 Jewish people.
Or something, or just a dude who thought that this was the best possible thing to do. But like I'm not Mr. False Flag at all. But like every single thing that he did in the aftermath of the shooting is so crazy that it's like you could not have designed a incident like this.
Yeah, so this is what I would consider like a dog whistle to say it was a false flag. I think that this suggests to a lot of people, and what Hassan is saying is that Israel basically hired somebody to shoot people so that it makes them look good. That's what a false flag is. So that doesn't help him saying something like that at all.
You could not have designed a better false flag incident like this. I'm not saying it is a false flag incident at all. I'm not saying that. I think this is just a one dude who is genuine in his actions and maybe...
Genuine in his actions. That's tough, brother. That's a tough one.
You know, a little bit brain broken, okay? But it is crazy. This was legit the worst thing that could happen in the movement? No, it's not.
Apparently this guy was also a Twitch streamer. So isn't that crazy?
You guys need to stop doing that. That's another thing that I don't like either. I don't stop. Have some conviction. Have conviction. Assume that your fellow man is not like a brain-broken child, okay? I ask you, does this change what Israel is doing on the ground in Gaza? Does this change the dynamic of what Israel is doing on the ground, which is an ethnic cleansing campaign? If the answer to that is no, then stop leaning into a nihilistic attitude. Stop leaning into a pessimistic attitude.
All right, so there's your reason why he got banned. Yeah, that's, at least I think that's what it is. Sitting here talking about like how dog whistling that it was a false flag, dog whistling that Israel did this. I know he says, well, that's not actually what happened. There's no reason to even suggest that. He goes on in greater detail. We don't really need to see the specifics about it. But like, yeah, you can't sit here and like insinuate that Israel shot up the museum for this. I mean, it's ridiculous. That's the insinuation. But anyway, let's go.
Hello.
Hi.
If you're watching this, that means I just got banned. As in,
Whoa.
I got a temporary 24-hour suspension.
Oh, no, not Hassan Parker.
And we're back together on this deep, up-close, and personal YouTube video. Welcome back to the Hassan channel on YouTube. Now, some of you are probably wondering, considering that there's a lot of back and forth going on online about why I got banned.
I think most of it's just kind of making fun of you for getting banned. And also frustration with the fact that you consistently like platform, terroristic individuals and run defense for, terrorist organizations. I mean, it doesn't really help well, I guess maybe it helps you.
Once again, well, you might have actually heard the truth. I got banned specifically because I covered the motives of the Israeli embassy staff shooter.
Covered it, yeah.
Which apparently, according to Twitch terms of service, dictates a suspension, even if I critically examine...
Well, it says improper handling of terrorist propaganda. Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, you know what? Even if this is just more of a performance piece, good for Twitch for actually doing something about this and reeling Hassan in and not allowing him to say wild shit.
The manifesto, which is precisely what I did. The reason why I read this is specifically so that you understand that like there is a shit ton of people that are like, no, this is the shooter's actions were directly...
I don't think that that's what that is. I think it has more to do with the fact that you were like downplaying it, and you were like you were effectively insinuating it was a false flag.
About finding some Jewish victim to kill. Okay, it's deliberate. It's clear what his reasoning is. You don't have to agree with what he did, and I'm not urging you to. Okay, I'm not saying that at all. But it is deliberate. Ask yourself why the media is not saying that the shooter did this because they were distraught with the violence that they had seen unfolded in Gaza. And the reason why I had critically examined.
Wait, what? Well, that sounds like you're justifying it, though.
Urging you to, okay? I'm not saying that at all, but it is deliberate. Ask yourself why the media is not saying that the shooter did this because they were distraught with the violence that they had seen unfolded in Gaza.
Yeah, I feel like I don't know. I mean, that leads into, hey, the actions were justifiable. And I don't even think that by itself is what did it. I think it's the fact that Hassan dog whistled that it was a false flag. I think that has more to do with that.
And the reason why I had critically examined the manifesto of the Israeli embassy staff shooter was because there was a lot of misinformation taking place, as is the case usually online whenever there's a breaking news story. This is what I do.
But aren't you usually the cause of the misinformation?
A big part of what I do is holding people's hands through the news media process by allowing them to think critically. And
I don't think so, man. I don't think it's critical thought to say anybody who thinks that Israel has the right to exist is basically a Nazi, which is what he said. We have to keep in mind that is what he said when he made the comment about the anybody that's ever had a positive sentiment about Israel is a Nazi that doesn't deserve to even handle dogs, right? Like that is what you're saying.
And helping them understand media literacy. This is precisely why I was covering the manifesto that my friend Ken Klippenstein was able to find and release. Another friend of mine, Eric Toller of the New York Times Visual Investigation Unit, had also uncovered the manifesto of the shooter around the same exact time, and he had also released it on his Twitter page. The reason why I'm bringing this up is because oftentimes when instances like this happens, the media will take bits and pieces of a manifesto to create a framework.
Maybe we'll watch Hassan's actual original YouTube video about this, just to get more of the shit after this, get more information on it.
Work around the motive, but in this circumstance, the media actually was quite quiet about the manifesto in and of itself. And I think that's newsworthy, but that's...
Well, I think that there's a reason for that, because talking about somebody like a killer's manifesto gives them the attention that they were looking for in the first place. That's the problem, right? That's one of the biggest things is that when we have these conversations about school shooters or anybody who writes a manifesto, one of the biggest things is the reason why we're not so quick to highlight it is because that's what they're looking for. They're looking for attention fundamentally. They're looking to do a heinous act and justify it. Whether it's a school shooting a bunch of random Jewish people, because I doubt that he was specifically targeting these two Jewish people. It seems like he was just targeting any Jewish person at a museum because he hates Jews, and he's not criticizing the Israeli government. He's hating on Jewish people. This is what they want to do. They want to get publicity for it. And you cannot allow people to signal boost that for them. That's the whole point. That's the entire point of what they're doing. Is they're looking for this attention, and by you even reading it in general, it gives them that attention. But then on top of the fact that you absolutely do dog whistle that it's a false flag, which is preposterous.
That's not the story here. The story is that I got banned for it. I got temporarily suspended because this is a part of the Twitch terms of service.
I'm surprised. They don't usually enforce it on you.
Not allowed, as it dictates right here in front of me, to even show a violent extremist manifesto on stream while denouncing it. This, I think, is not good for news and press freedom. And I said on Twitter, I'll take the suspension, but I hope Twitch changes its policy in the future.
I'm surprised they even covered it. This is funny here. Speaking out against terrorist organizations while displaying a recruitment video. I don't know. I don't think this is why he got taken down. I really don't. I really don't think that this is it. I think that he's hiding behind this. I think he's hiding behind it, and he's pretending that this is the reason why he got it taken down. And I think that Twitch is doing the same thing in general, because he hasn't gotten punished for doing extreme shit before. He's literally played terrorist music videos, he calls them. And gotten no pushback. I think that this is just mounting pressure from that, like mounting pressure, and Amazon probably like, hey, we have to start doing more about this, and then to kind of cutting off certain aspects of what's been going on, because this isn't even something that would get you banned on YouTube. But again, I don't think that he was, I don't know, man. I don't know. But okay.
Right. Having said that, how do we get here?
And I feel like this rule was made in like in response to Hassan in the first place, I wouldn't doubt it.
Especially considering that I had covered manifestos of the Cybertruck explosion. First off, I am not under duress or hostile influence or control. My first car was a 2008 Black Mustang V6 for verification. The Luigi Mangione manifesto. I do apologize for any strife or traumas, but it had to be done. Frankly, these parasites simply had it coming. The Wisconsin school shooter manifesto.
Well, he got in a bunch of trouble. For that Rick Scott comment too. So
some people think it's pure nothing, but because the hate they make, it ends up.
This makes sense, though. It makes perfect sense that he would get that they would crack down, because they've been getting so much significant pressure because of like legitimate mounting anti-Semitism that really comes from Hassan's community on Twitch.
Ends up killing them without knowing it, which go right ahead. I don't mind, but kind of do at the same time. The literacy rates are abysmal in this country. The manifesto of Ryan Ruth. Dear world, this was an assassination attempt on Donald Trump, but I'm so sorry I failed you. Wait, how did he know? And also the Israeli diplomat shooters manifesto. The atrocities committed by Israelis against Palestine defy description and defy
Israelis against Palestine. Just again, you need to keep these in mind, because it's the Israeli government. In the same way that, like, I would imagine a lot of people don't condone what even Donald Trump is doing in America, is the same thing over there. Okay, there's this idea that it's like Israelis are all bad. It really is the government. It really is, just to be absolutely clear. And he constantly puts himself in this situation where he boils it down to like all Israelis. He makes them all complicit for like the actions of the Israeli government.
Quantification. Why was this different? Why was this a big deal? I'm covering all of these different manifestos on stream, and
I wonder what he's going to say.
And I've never been banned for it. Well, I believe the reason why this was actually a little bit different is because there was a lot of outside pressure in the immediate aftermath of this shooting.
Yeah, I mean, like, there's been mounting pressure for a long time against you. So
the ADL, Apartheid Defamation League's very own Jonathan Greenblatt, went on CNN only hours after the shooting had taken place to make incredibly slanderous statements about me, stating that I was responsible for this.
Well, I mean, if they were slanderous, then why would they bother taking you down? Unless maybe it's
my reditoric was responsible for this.
He's just playing victim. I guess I wouldn't. It wouldn't be our Hassan if he wasn't going to play victim, though. We come to expect it, and we come to need it. We need the Hassan victimhood complex in this entire thing. Yeah.
Let's take a look.
All of us need to call it out. I'm thinking about the New York Times doing a gauzy profile a few weeks ago of this gamer, Hassan Piker, who
I love that he called him a gamer.
regularly employs awful genocidal rhetoric against Jewish people in the Jewish state.
This is slander.
I don't know if it's slander, man. I think it might be accurate. Again, like, it's not, you're not just criticizing the Israeli government. You consistently criticize Israeli people as well, man. So
through and through, I do not apply awful genocidal language towards Jewish people. I don't believe that even a genocide that the Israeli government is doing justifies a genocide to the Israeli government or the Israeli people. I am not the
wow. Okay.
one who is defending a genocidal state here. Jonathan Greenblatt is. Having said that, this slander continued with no push.
When you say things like genocidal state, though, again, like we're hearing the dog whistle. Say genocidal government. There's no reason why a popular political content creator who is media trained, who knows the exact intention of every word that he says, would speak so uncarefully about his words at every single turn. It doesn't make any sense.
Back from the CNN anchor, which I think is rather strange.
Extremists should not be empowered. People who spout prejudice should not be platformed. This is a moment when we need to look ourselves in the mirror and say, we've got to stop this because the consequences are deadly.
Here, Jonathan Greenblatt was making an implication that my rhetoric was responsible for this Israeli embassy staffer shooter going out and finding Israeli embassy staffers and shooting them.
Is that what happened, though? Or was it... I don't even think that was what happened. Was this person explicitly trying to kill those people, or was he just looking for Jewish people at a Jewish museum?
This is ridiculous. There is no connection between me and the shooter. The shooter actually followed a bunch
I could have swore the shooter was a Twitch streamer. No,
of people. I was not one of them on Twitter. He was not following me. What the do you mean? He wasn't
on Twitter. Well, okay.
However, following a bunch of, he was following Joe Weisenthal, you know what I mean? To Jonathan Greenblatt's statement, I replied with, Israel...
Keep in mind, oh yeah, I did see about that. Hassan completely purged his entire Discord server. That is true. Wait, if he doesn't feel like he's even close to partially responsible, then why did he remove all of his VODs, and why did he purge his Discord server? I don't know. Okay.
Israel is an apartheid state doing a live stream genocide. I think it's wrong and dangerous to conflate these heinous actions with Jews and Judaism. The Apartheid Defense League doesn't because they think they can improve Israel's standing by silencing its critics.
It's nice that you put a nice, decent looking, message up on Twitter. It doesn't change what you say on a consistent basis.
It, however, will not change the truth. And this is important to note because that's not where the story ends. During my coverage, there were a lot of people that stated that perhaps the embassy shooter was maybe a false flag operation.
Well, you stated that, Hassan.
Shooter was maybe a false flag operation. I do not believe that. Part of the reason why I covered the manifesto was precisely for this reason, to make sure that we understood the motives and we understood exactly what this shooter was intending to do. But that wasn't enough. There were the likes of E.L. Jacoby, a Hosborough guy on Twitter who lies at the behest of the state of Israel quite frequently, saying, breaking, Hassan Piker, hailed by the New York Times as the future of progressivism, tells his audience that the DC attack...
Well, I mean, they keep popping up puff pieces on you, so,
might have been a false flag. Then immediately...
That is exactly what the indication is and what you said. That's what a lot of people are going to get out of that.
He says, the guy was genuine with his actions. This is glorification of terrorism. Now...
That's what you said. You just showed us that you said that he was genuine with his actions. What?
These two things, these two statements here, are at odds with one another.
There is no... So let's just say this guy was genuine with his actions. What's the point of saying that? What is the point of saying that somebody who shot a bunch of Jewish people is genuine in their actions? What do you think that communicates? That's the same thing as saying, like, Hitler didn't... Some of the things Hitler did might have been good. It's the same thing. Why would you ever even... Why? What's the point? What are you trying to suggest there? This is the weaponization of, like... I wouldn't even call it a fact to say it's genuine. But, like, let's just say this is weaponization of a fact. Somebody who did a heinous crime... Well, maybe they went to church every Sunday. Like, who the fuck cares? This context doesn't matter. It's only meant to emotionally downplay the action that the person engaged in. That's the entire point of why you would say something, why you would bring humanization to an inhuman person. That's the point, right? And again, he knows this. That's what it is.
But what's actually even crazier is that this is a 37-second video that is attached to this statement. Let's take a look at that 37-second video. But, like, I'm not Mr. False Flag at all, but like every single thing that he did in the aftermath of the shooting is so fucking crazy that it's like you could not have fucking designed a incident like this. You could not have designed a better false flag incident like this. I'm not saying it is a false flag.
It's you. This is you absolutely saying it's a false flag. What are you talking about?
Incident at all. I'm not saying that.
This is you trying to suggest and cast doubt onto the situation.
I think this is just a one dude who is genuine in his actions and maybe a little bit brain broken.
Wow, who would ever interpret this as support? What kind of a fool would ever interpret this as support for the incident? Okay.
Most people that retweeted this didn't even actually watch the video to see whether or not it actually matched up with what this person was saying. Now, why am I talking about this random account?
It's like the only people that would fall for this are low IQ individuals. The only time you would fall for it's like, well, I didn't technically say it. You're doing the I'm not touching you right now. I'm not touching you right now. That's what you're doing. That his entire commentary on this is, I'm not touching you right now. I'm not touching. That's the whole thing. That's all we're seeing here.
He got 6,000 likes. I retweeted. I said a fascinating phenomenon nowadays is watching people clip things in context that I'm saying and then turn around and simply claim that I'm saying.
I think Hassan thrives off of this type of content. I think Hassan is smarter than people want to pretend that he is. Like, Hassan is smarter than his detractors want to pretend that he is. And this is what Hassan wants to do. He knows how to effectively low IQ dog whistle to his audience to make himself look like a victim. And then he knows he's going to get backlash from people. And then he goes, guys, that's not even what I said. That's the whole strategy. It's the outrage strategy. He's never changed from the outrage strategy since he said America deserved 9/11. And then went on to talk about how, Jan Crenshaw should have had his eye sexually assaulted. But that's what it is. He's never changed his perspective. He's arguably gotten better at the dog whistles, but he's never changed his perspective.
The opposite of what I'm saying in the clip. This is a 37 seconds long video, and this dumbass lied about everything. Why am I bringing this up? Great question. It's because the clip formulated by this account, which stated Hasan Piker,
what is that? Oh, that's Destiny's guy, right?
Star of Amazon's Twitch,
Destiny's Child,
says the attack sure looks like a perfect false flag. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. The guy was genuine with his actions. How fucking absolutely gross is it that this is currently being streamed right now to 40,000 people? Then it turned into this. Hasan Piker, hailed by the New York Times, the future of progressivism, tells his audience that the DC attack might have been a false flag. And yet, here is Jake Tapper retweeting this. So I guess Jake Tapper, one of the most important members of the media, who just came out with a book talking about how the media narratives did not match up with what the people were seeing in terms of Joe Biden's senility, is still doing ridiculous things like this.
Maybe Jake Tapper just goes, oh man, this is not a good representation for more left-leaning ideology, which we want to have good representation of. Maybe that's all it is.
Doesn't make any sense. But of course, all of that pressure inevitably led to Twitch taking this action.
Oh yeah, you're right. He didn't say the guy should be sexually assaulted in the eye. He said the guy did get fucked in the eye. That's true.
I had covered manifestos in the past on my broadcast.
Okay.
None of those manifestos actually met the same level of scrutiny.
Sure, that's all. The things are different. You're more mainstream now, so people are watching more closely. You're not just insulated on Twitch. It's just so funny because Hassan wants to get more popular. He wants to be more mainstream. He wants to be more mainstream, but he apparently doesn't like what comes along with that, which is people watching you more. So like that's what happened. People are watching you more now. And so they're seeing your words more. That's it. They're seeing your words more now. So like you have to be more careful. When you're a small creator, you can say fucking terrible shit. And you're much less likely to get targeted for it. And I'm not saying he was a small creator, but you weren't mainstream. Now Twitch is mainstream. You want to be the face of mainstream politics. You need to be more intelligent about the way that you interact with everything. So what else do you want to... That's just what it is.
This one did. And I don't believe this one did exclusively because it was about Israel. I think this manifesto was simply used as an opportunity to try to get me banned by gaming the terms of service. I did not think I was going to get suspended, but I'll take it. The real reason
and he's enjoying it too because he's turning himself into a victim.
ADL and numerous other organizations are actively trying to come after me, however, is because
you hate Jews, yeah.
Israel is falling out of favor. Because
actually I disagree. Israel hasn't been in favor for quite some time, but I think more and more people are caring less. I think that the words of people won't admit this to you. But the way that Hassan talks about this topic makes a lot of people not care about what's going on in Gaza. Him becoming more mainstream might be radicalizing more young people, but everybody else is like disconnecting themselves from it because it's toxic, it's stressful, and it's clearly deceptive. And so like people are tuning out. Israel's not falling out of favor. People, they still don't care very much. And again, he didn't actively advocate for the voting of Kamala Harris, who would have been better for Gaza, and Trump is in office, and Trump isn't doing anything to stop anything. There's no sentiment that's like anti-Israeli in the government in any meaningful capacity. So like, that's just not what's happening. But again, this type of language supports the dog whistle that he made. It supports the dog whistle that he made. If you think about it, they're falling out of favor. It does seem like a false flag. Oh, okay. Well, maybe those things are connected. No?
Because many Americans and many people in the Western world are now finally seeing the truth that Israel is an apartheid state that is built around...
I'm not trying to be rude. Nobody really cares in the Western world. Like, nobody is shitting themselves over this in the Western world here, just to be clear.
An ethno-supremacist ideology and that Israel is doing a live streamed genocide.
Most people don't. They're just not really okay. I mean,
Yesterday, they killed a doctor's family.
that's terrible.
9 of this doctor's children.
9 out of Gaza's doctors. 9 out of Gaza's doctors, 10 children in Israeli strike. Okay. Killed. Gotcha. That's title's just confusing to me. Yeah, this is terrible. I wanted to read through the article to see what Israel's response was. Their response is that they're reviewing civilian targets to see if there are civilian targets. Obviously, they were. The 9 children were killed. And they are claiming that Hamas is effectively was like hiding. That was like a target because Hamas was like hiding in there. Could be true. Maybe they're lying. We know Hamas does hide in civilian infrastructure. Again, it seems like neither the Israeli government nor Hamas cares for their own people.
Burned, charred. Images such as this can be seen all over people's timelines and all over social media because now people have unprecedented access to the victims of a genocide.
We've been seeing this for like years, though. Like, what are you talking? It's not like a new thing.
Unlike ever before. This is the reason why Israel has fallen out of favor and has become a pariah state on the global stage. This is the reason why now Western leadership, who have supplied Israel with arms in order to engage in such violent acts for the past 19 months, are finally turning around and stating that perhaps Israel should allow aid in, that perhaps turning around and stating that perhaps
UK, France, and Canada threaten action against Israel over Gaza, but they've been letting aid in the whole time. I think one of the popular organizations was suspended, but they've been letting aid in. They vet through the aid. I'm not saying, I mean, obviously they're controlling part of it too because they want to have a level of control over Gaza. I'm not sitting here saying that they're perfect, but that's not even what this headline says.
perhaps Israel
UK, France, and Canada threaten action against Israel over Gaza. Just to be clear, like this isn't specifically about aid and not going in there. It's about military expansion. Like they should be pressuring them, but this has been a pressure that's been going on from like the start. I think the US has been the only ones that have been on the side of Israel from like the start. So I don't know. I just the narrative isn't shifting. I don't know what to tell you. People are caring less and less, unfortunately, especially in like Western worlds are caring less and less about what's going on. So
should allow aid in, that perhaps Israel should stop doing war crimes. A former Likud, far-right Israeli prime minister recently came out and said, enough is enough. Israel is doing war crimes.
yeah, that's good. The former Israeli prime minister. He's saying close to war crimes, not saying war crimes, but still, this is good. But the problem here is that there's a constant dog whistle from Hassan in his community that like it's all Israelis. He even did it in this video, and yet like people, we see you're showing us evidence that it's not Israel, it's the Israeli government, and there is an outcry, right?
Israel has fallen so out of favor that The Atlantic, that a year ago wrote to rebut Hamas's allegations by letting journalists see the war up close would be a calculated risk. Even when conducted legally, war is ugly. It is possible to kill children legally if, for example, one is being attacked by an enemy who hides behind them. This was written on The Atlantic only a year ago. And now that very same Atlantic magazine is writing articles such as this one. It should not be controversial to plead for Gaza's children.
I agree.
Israel's limits on aid have put the...
This would all be a dunk if you didn't dog whistle that every Israeli person is responsible for what's going on in Israel. If you didn't support Noah Samson, who references far right-wing individuals being shown in on-the-ground like interviews meant to make you think that all Israelis are genocidal and go, see, that's all Israelis, even though he knows that you would never reference some kind of interview style thing for anything because you're going around looking for an answer, right? So like, what are you talking about?
Region at critical risk of famine. Help is within reach, but it's not enough and it's arriving too slowly. The reason why the tide is shifting is because the pressure valve is insurmountable. Too many people know exactly what's going on. And as fascist ideology is a suicide cult, it seems like Israel is bringing the rest of the Western leadership down with it. Israel is no longer a democracy. You cannot be a democracy while you want to maintain an ethno-supremacist state that is an apartheid state. And
I mean, listen, Hassan, you're not exactly helping them not maintain their ethno-supremacist state. First and foremost, 20% of the population in Gaza, in Israel proper, so not Gaza, not the West Bank, Um, is Palestinian. That's number one. Okay. Number two, the reason it's an ethno-state is because the entire world hates Jews. I don't know what to tell you. Like, we have to stop pretending otherwise. Israel was Zionism was born from anti-Semitism, mounting anti-Semitism that peaked in World War II, where 6 million Jews were genocided. They left to go to Israel because they were given that land. It did displace other people, and there should be restitution, but that's what it did. And then Arabic countries kicked out their own Jews and forced them to go to Israel. That's just a fact, right? And so, like, we need to understand, like, if you can understand why Hamas is a radicalized institution because of its oppression, we have to understand why Zionism was born. And Hassan constantly dog whistling anti-Semitism isn't exactly helping the cause. It isn't exactly changing the general sentiment that Israel has the right to exist in its current capacity, which is as an ethno-state. So, okay.
And you certainly can't be a democracy while doing a genocide. But the Western world that seemingly was able to abide by and hope that the pressure goes away from the broader public are now being forced to listen to the demands being made by the public. So there is a interesting bargain here ahead of us. Will our politicians listen to our voices and try to maintain the presence of a democratic process, or will they go down with Israel? As I say here, every day that goes by, more and more people realize the truth. The very same institutions that spent countless hours defending and contextualizing Israel's genocide will now change their tune. Try and deplatform me all you like, but you can't change what people have seen.
It's so, the voice that he's putting on is so gay. It's so funny.
One day, everyone will behave as though they were always against this. I'm Hassan Piker. I hope you can keep supporting me and watching me on YouTube, because even if I get deplatformed from Twitch completely, I will still find a way. And even if I am deplatformed entirely from every single website, the truth will still come out.
Why doesn't this guy just make his own streaming service? Like Destiny does that. Why don't you just do it yourself? Especially since Twitch and I'm pretty sure Google are both on the BDS list. You'd think that he would try to be pulling people over to a different platform that didn't support institutions that supported Israel, right? I don't really get it.
On that note, see you on Monday.
Whoa, guys, it's actually Tuesday or something right now. Woo! All right, let's see his original coverage. Let's see what his coverage is. His original coverage that he at least uploaded to YouTube, because his streams are all down, I believe. Looks like all his videos or his streams on Twitch are back up, so I guess maybe he took them down temporarily and put it back up or something. It's probably put it back up because of the criticism, I suppose. Okay. Anyway, let's watch this video.
Last night, 2 people that work for the Israeli embassy were shot. 2 Israeli embassy staff members were shot and killed outside of the Capitol Jewish Museum in D.C. This is breaking news, and a lot of people instantly rushed online to get their thoughts out.
Last night, 2 Israeli embassy staff members were shot and killed as they left an event at the Capitol Jewish Museum. Now, video from the scene shows the arrest of a man who appears to be the shooter. The victims have been identified as a young couple who were set to be engaged. They were killed right across the street from an FBI field office and less than a mile from the U.S. Capitol.
Hey, Gail, the Capitol Jewish Museum is that smaller brick building behind me, if you look closely at your screen. And that police tape is hanging from the side of the Washington, D.C. FBI field office. That's how high security...
Have you seen everyone trying to call it a false flag event? I think people's brains have been cooked, but I get why people think that. There are...
It's at the beginning of the video where he sits here and dog whistles that it was a false flag event and that Israel actually... was responsible for it. That's what a false flag is.
A million different opinions out there. Some people think, oh, it's great. I'm glad that this happened. Other people say this is the most heinous act of violence that has ever taken place. Please do not pay attention to the dead Palestinian children, that Israel is melting at a rapid clip, and instead talk about this. There are plenty of people who are using this as an opportunity to be like, this is a heinous anti-Semitic act of violence. Everyone that says Free Palestine should be instantly jailed, all this stuff.
I've never seen a single person saying any of that, but okay.
Ultimately, I mean, look, this is, let's just go through the details, and I'll give you my perspective, okay? What the fuck does said to be engaged mean? Are they engaged to be married? Said to be engaged is they're humanizing the victims in this situation.
What? They were... What?
Situation. That's why. This is how it goes, obviously. There's no
Wait, what?
Such humanization, of course, when the victim of an Islamophobic attack.
I'm sorry. Is it me, or am I interpreting it as humanizing the people who were literally murdered? He's suggesting that it's a bad thing. Just the way he's saying it. Of course they would. Yeah, why wouldn't they? They were murdered. What are you talking about? What the fuck?
Is a 7-year-old child, and that doesn't happen obviously in the United States of America. But the reason why they're talking about it is because he bought a ring to basically announce his engagement to the girl that he was dating. They're both in the Israeli embassy. But the reason why people are like saying this is a psyop is for two
people. Nobody's saying it's a psyop in any meaningful capacity. But Hassan wants you to know, hey, some people are saying it's a psyop. Did you know that? It seems like you're the one saying it's a psyop, Hassan. What the fuck?
Reasons. I don't think it is, for the record, and I'll tell you why. The reason.
Hey guys, here's why they're saying it's a psyop. I'm going to give you information that you have never seen before about how and why this is a false flag. I'm going to suggest that it's kind of a bad thing that they're humanizing the people who were literally murdered. But by the way, I don't actually believe it. I don't actually believe it though. I don't believe it. I don't believe it. But that's what he's doing the game. He's doing the thing. He said, I'm not touching you right now. That's what he's doing right here. What the fuck? Of course you got banned. This is preposterous.
The reason why people think it's a psyop is because this happened right after the...
Nobody said it was a psyop at all. He's the most public figure that even suggested it was a psyop.
The Israeli occupying force shot at diplomats in the West Bank, and immediately people with maybe a little bit too much pattern recognition turn around and go, ooh, that's probably a way, like they probably executed these like low-level Israeli diplomats.
Holy fuck. What the fuck?
That's in the West Bank, and immediately people with maybe a little bit...
What the fuck?
And I'll tell you why. The reason why people think it's a psyop is because this happened right after the Israeli occupying force shot at diplomats in the West Bank, and immediately people with maybe a little bit too much pattern recognition.
Bro, do you know what pattern recognition is? Just another way of him saying like, hey, the Jews kind of just do this. That's the pattern we're meant to recognize. What, dude? This is insane. Holy fuck, the dog whistle is insane, dude. He's gonna have to get a new one. He's blowing the fuck out of that dog whistle, dude. Holy shit, he's probably salivating at the mouth with how much of this dog whistle he's blowing out of his fucking mouth. This is insane. Holy shit. And just to be clear, Hassan knows what he has to say to be sensitive, intelligent, and articulate about what he says. When he doesn't provide the context, it's because he doesn't want context provided. You have to be aware of that is a tactic from Hassan, is to intentionally leave out context he knows needs to exist because he doesn't want it to exist, because he wants to play. I didn't say that. He wants the perpetual cycle of him saying something that is a dog whistle, people criticizing him for it, and then playing victim to his incredibly stupid audience.
Turn around and go, ooh, that's probably a way, like they probably executed these like low-level Israeli diplomats so that they can like change the SEO or whatever when people type in Israeli diplomat attack or something. And no, that's not the case. That's ridiculous. Or, people think it's a psyop, or...
you think it's a psyop. You keep bringing it up. No one else is bringing it up but you.
People think it's a psyop because like they're just like sacrificing low-level Israel embassy workers because they claim they want to change like the victimhood narrative back.
Bro, he's like elaborating on... This is like the same thing as somebody's like, you should never build a bomb. Go buy a rice cooker. You know what I mean? Like, this is exactly what he's doing right now. This is insane. This guy's fucking insane.
To Israel or something. But, of course, there are a lot of pro-Israeli accounts that are using this opportunity, as they use any opportunity, to turn around and say...
Bro, if I didn't know, maybe Hassan is a psyop to make Israel look better. Who knows?
Oh, my God, we have to stop people from saying free Palestine, which is ridiculous. Suck my dick, okay? Yeah, okay. You're right. You know, because of this incident, we should actually just close our eyes to the genocide that Israel is doing. Yeah, that seems like a reasonable bargain.
A fatal shooting outside the Capitol Jewish Museum in Washington, D.C.
Damn, you hit that Jewish hard.
Wednesday night. Law enforcement says prior to the attack, the suspect was observed pacing back and forth outside the museum.
He approached a group of 4 people, produced a handgun, and opened fire, striking both of our decedents. After the shooting, the suspect then entered the museum and was detained by event security.
This morning, the Israeli Foreign Ministry named the 2 victims as Yaron Lashinsky and Sarah Milgram, embassy staff workers in Washington.
I don't know about the girl, but I know the dude's background. I've looked into the dude's background, and the dude is like a Jews for Jesus guy. He is a German Christian originally, which makes this...
Okay, he grew up in a culturally mixed family with a Jewish father and a Christian mother and was a practicing Christian, according to the whatever. Okay, what does this matter? Yeah, usually that's like that's how it is. Like you take the religion out of the mother. That's typically like the tradition.
Story even crazier when people are like, oh, dude, this is an anti-Semitic hate crime. It's like, bro, very clearly the dude even wrote a manifesto, the dude that did it.
It's not an anti-Semitic hate crime because he wasn't practicing Jewish. He was just ethnically Jewish. Wow, good job, Hassan. What?
The dude that did it wrote a manifesto, and it's entirely about Israel. Okay, like entirely about Israel. The victims are Israeli embassy workers, and not only that, but also like one of the dudes that work for the Israeli embassy is a German Christian, like a German Christian that
you can be ethnically German and Jewish. I literally am, but okay, good job.
Was, I guess he like changed his name or something. I don't know what the was going on there. Like but
it's like the game is boring at this point. Like this whole game of like, well, it's not anti-Semitic, it's just anti-Zionist. But it's like, what? You're sitting here pretending it's a false flag. Like you're literally dog whistling that it's a false flag as you sit here and say this shit. So like it's the game's done. Like people see through the game now. That's pretty much all it comes down to.
Regardless, this could have been anti-Semitic or not. I don't know. Could he have known that they were stabbed, or did he just target random people leaving the museum? Impossible to tell. And the possibility of backlash from the state is terrifying. This is how Kristallnacht started. Exactly. And to be, yes, I don't think that the person who, like the gunman, knew exactly who the fuck he was targeting. And
wait, so the gunman didn't know who he was targeting. So he was just at a Jewish museum. He was just outside of a Jewish museum event to shoot Jews. What? So if you know he wasn't targeting anything, then what is it? What? Wait, if you're admitting he didn't know who he was targeting, then why are you bringing up the ethnicity of the person killed? He wasn't there to kill them. He was just there to kill. What?
The reality of the matter is, I'll give you an example. Yeah, the dude also volunteered for the IDF, even though he's...
who cares? He doesn't know the guy's background, so why the fuck does any of this matter?
They were Israelis. No. Yeah. By the way, he was Christian. She was an American Jew. None of them were Israeli. Yet they are literally working for Israel. Insane that these people don't have to register as foreign agents. I know. It's kind of the point. This is how it works.
Man purchased a ring this week with the intention of proposing to his girlfriend next week in Jerusalem.
The suspect, who's now in custody, was identified by police as 30-year-old Elias Rodriguez from Chicago. The FBI says it's investigating ties to potential terrorism and his motivation.
The suspect chanted, "Free, free Palestine," while in custody.
Witnesses say Rodriguez was with them inside the museum after the shooting before they realized who he was.
So about 10 minutes later, when the cops actually came in, he said, "I did this." He said, "Sir, I'm unarmed." He put his hands up. He grabbed a red keffiyeh out of his pocket and started the Free Palestine chants.
President Trump responded to the shooting.
Dude, oh my God. He hit like every button he possibly could. It's just, if he had yelled from the river to the sea, that would have nuked him. No, dude,
he's hitting every button. Is Hassan again playing the suggestion that it's a false flag? He's hitting every button. This is, you see what he's doing. Like that's what that means.
Saying free Palestine and also having like the red keffiyeh on the ground, like all of that is so perfectly placed for the government to say, if you have a red keffiyeh, you're going to jail. You're a terrorist. If you say free Palestine, you're going to jail. You're a terrorist. Like it is. I don't think it's a false flag or anything.
See, what I tell you. The fact that I was able to predict what he was about to say shows you that like this is a false flag. It's so transparent.
But it's so perfectly designed for the government to utilize in an effort to stop people from saying like, Israel, please stop murdering children. Like it is so...
Bro, this whole thing is like him supporting it being a false flag. This is insane. This is wild.
Oh, perfectly designed. Okay? Anyway, let's continue.
Posting these horrible DC killings based obviously on anti-Semitism must end. Adding, hatred and radicalism have no place in the USA.
Dude, you are Donald Trump. What are you saying? Donald Trump saying this is like Adolf Hitler saying this, okay? What do you mean hatred and radicalism have no place in the USA? You literally won on hatred and radicalism. You are Donald Trump. Did you forget who you are? Yesterday, he literally was talking about how there's a white genocide happening in South Africa. It is literally a white nationalist conspiracy that virtually no one believes. White people in South Africa don't believe it. Only a select handful neo-Nazis advanced this conspiracy theory, and Donald Trump is one of those guys now.
Trump contacted Attorney General Pam Bondi, who was with the Israeli ambassador.
Together with President Trump, our Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu will stand together tall and firm.
Tall and firm like a cock.
And we will confront this moral depravity without fear and with determination.
Israel's prime minister says they are strengthening security arrangements at their posts at their Israeli government facilities across the globe. An initial search by law enforcement.
The event was not a Jewish LGBTQ event. Earlier, Chowder lied. It was an event for Israeli diplomats. AJC's Access, Young Diplomats Reception. That's what it was, right? The American Jewish Center or whatever. Like that's what here. AJC's event targeted in DC shooting was AJC's Young Diplomats Reception about response to humanitarian crises. The event Wednesday night at the Capitol Jewish Museum in Washington, D.C. outside of the deadly shooting. Also, don't say the person was lying, okay? Don't immediately assume that they were lying. They could have been misguided, okay? Calm down. Yeah, I don't endorse...
Look at that. He's so sensitive when it comes to, you know, when it comes to not Israel, though. When it comes to not Israeli people.
the notion of it being a false flag, but here's the video.
Don't be mean to the guy just because he got a little bit wrong. By the way, why are we humanizing the Jews that were killed, by the way? That's fucking crazy.
You haven't being apprehended.
That's
I know.
his take.
I saw this, which is why I was like, this is insane. Like,
this is insane. It's a false flag, as he's about to say.
Way, like, look, there's a... Like, the guy picks up the keffiyeh from the ground. This isn't even the best version of this video. Because, like, I think he literally takes it out of his pocket or something and, like, tosses it. By the way, one of the craziest parts about this in this video is that there are dudes there. This guy just shot people. He is turning himself in. He says, free, free Palestine. And there's still motherfuckers there that are going from Hamas. I was like, bro, do you have no sense of safety? Like, how embedded is this in your mind? Like, automatically, you hear someone go free Palestine, and you go from Hamas. It blew my mind. I was like, dude, no sense of being. No, you're just like, at that point, you are just a vehicle for Israel. You are in DC as an American citizen.
There we go, more false flag rhetoric.
And you are so invested in like behaving like a bot that you hear free, free Palestine, and immediately, even after, like, you don't know what the situation is. You don't know if there's a bomb there. You don't know if there's other shooters there. You are literally just auto Hasbara bot mode. You hear free, free Palestine, you go, from Hamas. You know what I'd be doing in that situation? Running away. That's what I would be doing. I wouldn't be like immediately, time for the report. Free, free Palestine from Hamas. Like, what? Like, that's insane. That's insane. Free, free Palestine from Hamas. They are definitely going to start clamping down on Palestine protests just before Israel's displacement plan. Yeah, I think so too. I mean, it's like saying that they're going to clamp down on pro-Palestinian protests now is kind of funny too, because it's like, now, you mean, you know, they have been doing that already pretty aggressively. As a matter of fact, they've been doing that. So I don't think that that's like anything new. They'll just like escalated. But yeah, here, I'll give you the analog here, okay? Luigi Mangione was an adventurist. He had obviously a goal, and because so many people had been directly victimized by healthcare in this country, that as soon as we knew who the victim was, everybody immediately understood what the motives were. Allegedly, Luigi Mangione, despite being an adventurist, had a clear-cut agenda that most Americans very quickly understood. Even if they didn't agree with the methods, like, they kind of understood where the resentment was coming from. I wouldn't say this situation is comparable, and here's why. Because Luigi Mangione, allegedly, but when Luigi Mangione targeted the United Healthcare CEO, that was the United Healthcare CEO. Luigi Mangione didn't go and kill the I don't know, reception desk worker at United Healthcare and then turned around and said free healthcare, right? And that's the major difference. If Luigi had done it, of course, allegedly. I'm saying allegedly Luigi Mangione.
I'm saying allegedly. Got to be careful with that plausible deniability language, guys.
Who I think is an innocent man and is unjustly maligned.
Well, he still did murder somebody, right? Like, I can understand where the frustration comes from while not supporting, you know, the act of murder. You know, I'm not saying I'm losing any sleep over the guy he killed. But this is, you know, probably a good idea to not actively advocate for murder.
Allegedly, he had done this act. That would be the equivalent to what took place here. Now, I'm not going to entertain the emotional blackmail that Israel defenders who very clearly don't care about victims of Islamophobia, or even these people that died and simply only care about defending Israel's interests, the emotional blackmail that they are going to try to enforce here at a time when Israel has very openly stated their desire for permanent ethnic cleansing of the Palestinian population in the Gaza Strip. That's not going to happen, okay? So don't expect that from me. I'm not entertaining that, okay? Having said that, you know, that's my position. I explained it to you. This is, you know, going after low-level people, and it's most likely going to be used against the Palestinian movement. But I'm also not going to sit around and...
Again, when he says that, he's supporting the concept that it was a false flag. Every single time he says it, he says that this shooting is actually going to support like Israel. It makes him look like a victim, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. The horrific and vitriolic rhetoric that Hassan has been spewing online, in my opinion, has leaked its way into this person's brain and caused him to go and shoot 2 Jewish people. And Hassan's first line of defense is to suggest that it is a false flag that Israel has decided to put out there onto itself to make itself look like a victim. This is JQ101. The fact that he only got banned on Twitch for a day is insane. The fact that YouTube hasn't banned him is even more insane. This video is very clear from the start. desperately trying to say this is a false flag and Israel hurt itself to make it look like a victim. But probably not. But that's all this is.
And constantly fucking wail away either. Okay. Did you see PSL National's tweet? Yes. So the alleged perpetrator yesterday was a former PSL member. So of course, the Party for Socialism and Liberation. For those of you who don't know what PSL is, it's the Party for Socialism and Liberation. We reject any attempt to associate the PSL with the DC shooting. Elias Rodriguez is not a member of the PSL. He had a brief association with one branch of the PSL that ended in 2017. We know of no contact with him in over 7 years. We have nothing to do with this shooting and do not support it. So I think it's of course appropriate to say this. Like, it's appropriate for them to come out and say this. And that's also part of the reason why I talked to a bunch.
Yes, it is appropriate for them to say, hey, he doesn't represent our actions. We don't want to be connected with them. Hassan, though, seems to be jumping on and saying, hey, you know, he seems to be very desperate to like grab onto what's going on here.
To my other friends as well.
And make it seem like Israel is responsible for it.
This morning, like, no person, especially no person like immediately affiliated with the Party for Socialism and Liberation, who are fantastic organizers overall, no organizer is going to do something like this. And no organizer is going to associate their organization with something like this, because organizers understand that this level of association with an act such as this one will be catnip for the federal government.
Yeah, so right now what we're doing is, okay. All right. He's trying to recontextualize the reason why they're saying it wasn't them. Isn't because they don't agree with it, but it's because they don't want the government looking into their organization. So he just wants to make sure that you understand that but the act that happened is not as bad. Not that that's what he wants you to think, that it really wasn't that bad, and in every term he's going to give you an excuse for why it's justifiable. When very left-leaning people say that they don't want to be attached to this, well, it's not because they don't agree with it. It's just because the government will look into them more. That's what this whole thing is.
Using every fucking avenue they can to clamp down on free speech and free association. So before people get like in their feelings and go, what the fuck, I can't believe that they're saying this, like, don't be a fucking moron. They're probably still going to aggressively come after PSL anyway. They're probably aggressively going to come after any and every pro-Palestinian person, myself included. They've already even started coming.
It's so interesting that he can apparently analyze the depths of certain language, but then when it comes to other language, he just turns into a complete fucking, you know, mouth-breathing fuck. Like, it doesn't make any sense. He can look into this. Right? Like, that's how it works. Hassan knows how to, like, sensitive language works.
After myself, as far as I understand, it's pretty crazy. It's crazy times that we are a part of, but you know, it is what it is. I'm going to keep saying the fucking truth. If you think that I'm going to stop saying the truth about Israel, about what Israel is doing, which is a live streamed child holocaust that Israel is committed to, and the only way that they're able to do this is by unlimited munitions that they get from the United States of America. If you think I'm going to stop talking about that, you are out of your fucking mind.
It's not bad to talk about that. It's just insane that you need to sensationalize as much as possible to push as much hate onto Jews as you possibly can. It's almost like you're paid to do it. I mean, you should be. At this point, Hassan should get payment from like fucking Russia and somebody and others for all the shit that he spews.
Police have identified the suspect as 30-year-old Elias Rodriguez from Chicago. After the shooting, he entered the building, and at first, witnesses said he appeared distressed and gave him water.
The security guard happened to let this guy in. I guess they were thinking that he was a victim. So about 10 minutes later, when the cops actually came in, he said, I did this. He said, sir, I'm unarmed. He put his hands up.
And then he reaches into his bag and pulls out a keffiyeh and says, I did it. I did this for Gaza.
That traditional keffiyeh scarf to show solidarity with the people of Gaza was handed to police as the suspect was taken in.
Like, either this is an adventurist who fucking thought that he would get like Luigi Mangione level prominence off of this or something, or just a dude who thought that this was the best possible thing to do. But like I'm not Mr. False Flag at all.
Holy fuck, dude, he keeps going on with this false flag narrative. He will not stop suggesting it's a false flag. This is actually psychotic.
But like every single thing that he did in the aftermath of the shooting is so fucking crazy that it's like, you could not have fucking designed a incident like this. You could not have designed a better false flag incident like this. I'm not saying it is a false flag incident at
That's exactly what he's saying.
all. I'm not saying that. I think this is just a one dude who is genuine in his actions and maybe, you know, a little bit brain broken. Okay. But it is crazy. This was legit the worst thing that could happen to the movement. No, it's not. And you guys need to stop doing that. That's another
this is the worst thing that could happen in the movement. No, it's actually not.
Thing that I don't like either. I don't stop. Have some conviction. Have conviction. Assume that your fellow man is not like a brain broken child.
I'm so confused. This is the worst thing that could happen to the movement. No, it's not. Here's why. What? Why? Why? What?
Okay, I ask you, does
the hell
this
is happening
change
right
what
now?
Israel is doing on the ground in Gaza?
Wow.
Does this change the dynamic of what Israel is doing on the ground, which is an ethnic cleansing campaign? If the answer to that is no, then stop leaning into a nihilistic attitude. Stop leaning into a pessimistic attitude, okay?
Today, the FBI raided
They're just saying that violence is bad, and Hassan has to go on and be like, well, actually, it's not bad. Incredible.
the home in Chicago where the suspect Elias Rodriguez is believed to live. He wasn't on any police watch list, but he was.
It's also extra crazy. Again, it's extra fucking nutty. One of the first victims post October 7 in the Western world was a 7-year-old child, okay, that got stabbed to death by his landlord. Like, nobody gives a fuck when
Was it your mom? Isn't your mom a landlord?
Muslim kids, babies are fucking murdered, okay? Nobody cares. Nobody cares about Islamophobia, not even a little bit. Like, what are we talking about here, dude? It's crazy. Like, think about the universal condemnation. Not my expectation isn't that like people aren't going to condemn this. Of course, a fucking murder in the middle of the night, okay? Obviously, in the like right steps away from the fucking White House. Like, yeah, of course, it is worthy of condemnation from politicians, especially. It's just that it is not even remotely comparable. Not even like when Muslims or Arabs are fucking murdered or are victims of hate crimes. It does not get elevated to this fucking status at all. Not.
Oh, okay. What he's saying is that like we only care about these people that are killed because they're Jewish and nobody. That right? Okay. I was like, what is he saying this for? He's saying it because he wants to downplay the deaths of these Jewish people. That is the entire reason he says any of this. It's incredible.
Not only that, but the reason why I'm bringing this up is specifically because we're talking about Islamophobia in the Western world. This is before we even talk about what Israel is doing, because Israel is a criminal entity, okay? That's it. And defenders of Israel, no matter where they are, no matter what their background is, are defending a Nazi state doing a live-streamed Holocaust. This is the reality. Anyone that tries to move the attention away from said reality, is just fucking delusional or cynical. That is the main problem. Yeah. And here, this is the expectation that these people are actually important or noteworthy is gone. 61 martyrs as a result of Israeli airstrikes on the Gaza Strip since dawn today. The names of 2 Israeli embassy staff are all over the global media, where you won't find the names of any of the 61 people counting and killed by the Israeli army today. Those people also had dreams. Those people that were killed.
Yeah, sure, but this is on American soil, right? So like it's going to be bigger American news. No? That kind of makes sense. It's not because there is Islamic. It's because this is something that happened on American soil. And if it was a Muslim people that were killed by Jews, we would have heard that in droves as well. We know our media tends to be a little more left-leaning, so like they're going to display things that go along with a left-leaning idea more than anything else. It's not a bad thing. I'm just saying like that's what happens. Yeah.
Killed were also human beings. Those people also probably wanted to maybe one day get engaged to their fiance. They had girlfriends and boyfriends. They had mothers. They had fathers.
True.
They had their favorite books. But we don't even think about that. Because there is no fucking parity here with the humanity. Palestinians are never treated as humans. A single death is a tragedy. A million deaths.
Well, maybe not, but Hamas doesn't treat them like humans either. Don't you think that's a problem?
Is a statistic, and this is precisely how Israel.
I also just want people to understand that like there are 2 million Palestinians living in Israel proper, and it's something to keep in mind as we pretend that Israel hates all Palestinian people, because they don't. All right, so I mean, like again, you want to really boil this down. I'm not saying that what they're doing is okay. I'm just saying like it's a lot more. He wants to boil it down to like that Israel just hates all Palestinian people. It's like the whole point.
Operates. And yes, I saw his account. His last retweet was literally denying the famine that was taking place in Gaza. This doesn't mean like, I'm not saying like, oh, it's justified, whatever. That's not my point. But understand that like the hyper focus on this, or the attention being placed on this, is very cynical. It's not because these guys are pacifists, okay? They're not. They're not fucking pacifists. They're not humanists. They simply want to defend Israel. And they will use any victim to push for that cause. What a lot of Israel defenders are doing is just trying to engage in emotional blackmail, but also simultaneously demand.
Anytime somebody says this is a bad, like, what is it? Because this is, people are saying this is a bad thing. It's just emotional blackmail. Okay.
Deplatforming of anyone and everyone that has ever said anything negative about Israel. This is a state. A state represents a political ideology. A state is comprised of individuals. A state is not a representation of religion. ISIS, anything negative about Israel. This is a state. A state that has ever simultaneously demand deplatforming of anyone and everyone that has ever said anything negative about Israel.
It's not, but okay.
This is a state. A state represents a political ideology. A state is comprised of individuals. A state is not a representation of religion.
A lot of states in the Middle East are a representation of the Islamic religion, so I don't really know why you're pretending that this isn't something that happens. It's not ideal, but like, let's not pretend that like Israel's the only one that prioritizes their own religion. What?
ISIS is not representative of Islam. Neither is Saudi Arabia representative of Islam. And
okay.
Israel is not representative of Judaism.
It is to an extent. It's the only Jewish state, though, that exists. Right? Like, there's every other one is like a Muslim state. It's like the only Jewish state that exists. It is kind of different, I would say, to an extent. And again, you can definitely criticize the Israeli government. You could separate that from criticizing Jewish people and the Israeli population. You don't do that. You dog whistle constantly in the opposite direction. What are you talking about?
Was once a member of a left-wing group known for sharing anti-Israeli rhetoric and posted a manifesto on X last night condemning Israel and referring to an...
Yeah, he defended the murder of the Red Cross workers, celebrated the murder of Hassan. Like, of course he did. He works for the fucking Israeli embassy. He is the dude that died is literally like, this is the dude that died was demonstrated in the classic...
He's Rick Scotting this guy now. Okay.
Case of the zealotry of a convert.
Okay. Who cares? And the reason I say that is the guy didn't know who he was. So, first of all, he still doesn't deserve to die. Second of all, the guy didn't know who he was. He went there to just kill Jewish people. And you're like, well, yeah, the guy's not even, who really cares that he died? Why is it relevant? The guy didn't know who he was killing. He was just killing whoever he could that were there that were Jewish. So...
Tree of the revert. Basically, if roles were reversed, he would be treated, if this wasn't about Israel, and if Judaism was not applied as like a defensive shield here, you would look at him like Johnny G.
Applied as a defensive shield? What do you mean? He was killed because he was fucking Jewish.
Jihad, you know what I mean? Like the classic like Salafist white guy who reverts to Islam and then goes and joins ISIS. Okay, that's because that's what he did. That's like, that was his... Be careful with using the post facto uncovered post of the victims in any way, even if you say it's not a justification. There's zero evidence the shooter knew the people. Yeah, no, I know that. It's not a part of this calculation at all. I don't know.
Even his chatter is pushing back. The only reason that he put that inside of the video was so that he could say something dehumanizing to dog whistle, like, who cares about the person who died, and then put the context in it. It's like, oh yeah, I guess he didn't know who it was. Like, he had the chatter put in there so he could play plausible deniability and be like, oh yeah, no, I know. What was the point of you saying whatever you were saying in the first place?
What the shooter's calculation is. I suspect that he saw that it was a diplomat event and was like, maybe I'll be able to get a fucking Israeli diplomat here. That was his goal. That was ultimately his goal. This is adventurism regardless. It's not a way to build a cohesive movement, a coherent movement. That's why while Channel 4 is actively trying to bring this back to like PSL, for example, no fucking organizer would ever do such a thing. No organizer would ever do such a thing. I'm simply talking about the difference between like this and Luigi Mangione, for example, and also simultaneously talking about the media narratives and what trappings not to fall into. The manifesto is indeed that of the Israeli embassy shooter. He previously used his email address, elias94@gmail.com, for the account Kyoto Loather, but was, oh shit, it got suspended in the meantime, he claims banned after DMing death threats to Will Stansel. Okay, well, we can't actually read it from that any longer because his account got nuked, but here is the alleged manifesto written by Elias Rodriguez. Kenny Clips has it. Suspecting the killing of 2 Israeli embassy staffers in Washington, D.C. I believe the document to be authentic for several reasons, including the fact that it is signed by Rodriguez and timestamped.
Are we sure that he knew that the event was for diplomats? I don't know if he was sure of that. Hassan wants it to be that, but I don't think that there's any confirmation. I'm not 100% sure.
Well before he was named by law enforcement or any media.
I'm not sure how he would know about the event. They're still investigating how he would have known about that being the event.
I am publishing it here, not to glorify the violence, which I find abhorrent and condemn, but so the public can better understand the truth of what happened. Refusing to confront the content of these texts often creates an information vacuum that is quickly filled by hoax documents, conspiracy theories, or selective leaks from authorities that can distort the facts. I believe that sunlight is the best disinfectant, especially when politics is involved, as the document makes it clear the case here. Metropolitan Police Chief Pamela A. Smith identified Rodriguez as a 30-year-old man from Chicago who she says shouted free Palestine at the scene. The manifesto echoes this message, citing the war in Gaza as a central grievance and framing the killings as an act of political protest. Below is the document in full. Before reading the manifesto, I think it's important to remind people that adventurism and propaganda of the deed is overwhelmingly ineffective as tactics. Anarchists were wrong about adventurism, such as ad hoc actions mainly just gives the state an excuse to do repression. Yes, I, of course, will not stand for any kind of state repression in this circumstance. Halantar is a word that means something like thunder or lightning. In the wake of an act, people look for a text to fix its meaning, so here's an attempt. The atrocity atrocities committed by Israelis against Palestine defy description and defy quantification. Instead of reading descriptions mostly, we watch them unfold on video, sometimes live. After a few months of rapidly mounting death tolls, Israel had obliterated the capacity to even continue counting the dead, which has served its genocide well. At the time of the writing, the Gaza Health Ministry records 53,000 killed by traumatic force, at least 10,000 lie under rubble.
The event was advertised, just the location wasn't public until you bought a ticket. Okay, so was he able to buy a ticket? Is that what they're saying?
And who knows how many thousands more dead of preventable disease, hunger, with tens of thousands now at the risk of imminent famine due to the Israeli blockade. All enabled by Western and Arab government complicity. The Gaza Information Office includes the 10,000 under the rubble with the dead in their own count. In news reports, there have been those 10,000 under the rubble for months now, despite the continual making of more rubble and repeated bombing of...
What, does it even matter? It was still premeditated either way. He went there to kill Jewish people. Yeah, but to Hassan, it's the justified target. That's what he wants you to understand. Like, every single time Hassan talks, he's justifying what this guy did. That's the entire, that's the point of the language that he's using. He's saying that this was a justifiable act because of what's going on in Gaza. And so these people actually deserve to die. That's why he's constantly dehumanizing. That's why he's that's why he's talking about it this way. That's why he's pushing this idea. He's dog whistling that it was a false flag. It's because Hassan thinks it's okay what happened. That's the whole point.
Rubble again and again, and the bombings of tens amid the rubble. Like the Yemen death toll, which had been frozen at some few thousand for few years under the Saudi, US, UK bombardment before being belatedly revealed to stand at 500,000 dead. All of these figures are almost surely a criminal undercount. I have no trouble believing the estimates that put the toll at 100,000 or more. More have been murdered since March of this year than in the Protective Edge and Cast Lead put together. These are two previous sieges that Israel implemented on Gaza in the past. What more at this point can one say about the proportion of mangled and burned and exploded human beings whom were children? We who let this happen will never deserve the Palestinians' forgiveness. They've let us know as much. An armed action is not necessarily a military action. It usually is not. Usually it is theater and a spectacle, a quality it shares with many unarmed actions. Nonviolent protests in the opening weeks of the genocide seemed to signal some sort of turning point. Never before had so many tens of thousands joined the sides of Palestinians in the streets across the West. Never before had so many American politicians been forced to concede that, rhetorically at least, the Palestinians were human beings too. But thus far, the rhetoric has not amounted to much. The Israelis themselves boast about their own shock at the free hand the Americans have given them to exterminate the Palestinians. Public opinion has shifted against the genocidal apartheid state, and the American government has simply shrugged. They'll do without public opinion then, criminalize it where they can, suffocate it with bland reassurances that they're doing all they can to restrain Israel where it cannot criminalize protests outright. Aaron Bushnell and others sacrificed themselves in the hopes of stopping the massacre, and
Aaron Bushnell glorifying somebody who took their own fucking life.
The state
clearly had a mental health issue.
Works to make us feel their sacrifice was made in vain, that there is no hope in escalating for Gaza, and no point in bringing the war home.
Just to be clear, we're reading this as the shooter, the murderer's manifesto here. That we're not reading like an actual like a news authority. We're reading his manifesto here, and so far I haven't seen any actual pushback on the manifesto in any capacity whatsoever from Hassan, despite the fact that he says that he definitely pushed back against it. All I've actually seen him do is suggest that it was a false flag. So cool stuff.
We can't let them succeed. Their sacrifices were not made in vain. The impunity that representatives of our government feel at abetting the slaughter should be revealed as an illusion then. The impunity we see is the worst for those of us in immediate proximity to the genocidaires. A surgeon who treated victims of the Mayan genocide by the Guatemalan state recounts an incident in which he was operating on a patient who'd been critically injured during a massacre when, suddenly, armed gunmen entered the room and shot the patient to death on his operating table, laughing as they killed him. The physician said the worst part was seeing the killers, well known to him, openly swaggered down local streets in the years after. Elsewhere, a man of conscience once attempted to throw Robert McNamara off a Martha's Vineyard-bound ferry into the sea, incensed at the same impunity and arrogance he saw in that butcher of Vietnam as he sat in the ferry's lounge laughing with his friends. The man took issue with McNamara's very posture, telling you, my history is fine, and I can be...
I'm surprised this is even up on YouTube. I haven't seen any there's been no pushback so far from Hassan. This is fucking crazy. He hasn't pushed back a single bit at all.
Over a bar like this with my good friend Ralph here, and you'll have to lump it. The man did not succeed in heaving McNamara off a catwalk into the water. The former Secretary of State managed to cling to the railing and clamber back to his feet. But the assailant explicated the value of the attempt by saying, well, I got him outside, just the two of us. And suddenly, his history wasn't so fine, was it? A word about the morality of armed demonstration. Those of us against the genocide take satisfaction in arguing that the perpetrators and abettors have forfeited their humanity. I sympathize with this viewpoint and understand its value in soothing the psyche, which cannot bear to accept the atrocities it witnesses, even mediated through the screen. But inhumanity has long since shown itself to be shockingly common, mundane, prosaically human. A perpetrator may then be a loving parent, a filial child, a generous and charitable friend, an amiable stranger, capable of moral strength at times when it suits him. And
this is fucking insane, dude. He's literally just reading the manifesto with no pushback. What is this? He's just reading it. He's not criticizing it. He's not commenting on it. He's literally just reading the manifesto. This is fucking insane.
Sometimes even when it does not.
I don't see any benefit. I don't really see any benefit here of him reading this manifesto at all. How does this help anybody other than glorify this fucking guy's murderous rampage in general?
And yet be a monster all the same. Humanity does not
Jesus Christ.
exempt one from accountability. The action would have been morally justified taken 11 years ago during Protective Edge, around the time I personally became acutely aware of our brutal conduct in Palestine. But I think to most Americans, such an action would have been illegible, would seem insane. I am glad that today, at least, there are many Americans for which the action will be highly legible and in some funny way, the only sane thing to do. I love you, mom, dad, baby sis, the rest of my familia, including you. And then it says, oh, censored. Free Palestine, Elias Rodriguez. Now, the reason why I read this manifesto, and we have obviously read the manifestos of white nationalist shooters as well, is oftentimes to understand the mindset of this person, especially when there are a lot of mainstream narratives that will immediately design an alternative scenario. I don't think that this person acted out on an anti-Semitic desire or is a fucking Nazi or anything like that. But that is dangerous in a separate way. The very fact that a person who is this legible, who has their shit together enough to be able to write a fucking...
Dude, okay. Now we're saying that the guy who did this was actually a really smart guy. He's complimenting the guy for doing this. He's giving him compliments now. He's giving him compliments for what he did.
And write prose such as this one, in the act of vengeance, in the act of vigilante justice in his own mind, is meaningful in and of itself. It's meaningful because it means that there are people who haven't fucking lost their minds that also see and are choosing to take action such as this, taking action such as this that is terrifying for the average person, okay? Regardless of what their position is. The reason why I'm reading this, the reason why I read this, is specifically so that you understand that, like, there is a shit ton of people that are like, no, this is done, this is conducted. The shooter's actions were directly about finding some Jewish victim to kill.
That seems to be what it is.
It's deliberate. It's very clear. It's clear what his reasoning is. You don't have to agree with what he did. And I'm not urging you to, okay? I'm not...
Yes, you are. The entire thing is you urging to fucking agree with what he did. It's a fucking dog whistle.
Saying that at all. But it is deliberate. Now, ask yourself why the media is not saying that the shooter did this because they were distraught with the violence that they had seen unfolded in Gaza.
I don't know, Hassan. Maybe it's because they don't want to give him big ups for what he did, because it would be incredibly dangerous to insinuate that this is acceptable behavior, because then it would happen more.
His own admission. They don't have an issue saying the shooter is a fucking white supremacist when the shooter is a white supremacist. When a shooter writes a manifesto and they're a fucking white supremacist, the media will at least take parts of that manifesto to dive deep into the consciousness of the fucking stochastic terrorist.
Wait, but that's not directly comparable here, right? Like, we understand that, no? This isn't like when a shooter's a white supremacist, they have no issue saying he's a white supremacist. Yeah, and then but did they say that he was some kind of Islamic supremacist? No, like they didn't say. So I don't understand, right? Like they don't seem to be sitting here and saying like, oh, maybe they are. I guess I haven't seen that. I don't think that this is directly comparable. Right, but they don't want to make it seem like there are justifiable motivations. Being a white supremacist isn't a justifiable motivation. So sitting here being like, oh, they did it because there's a lot of bad shit going on in Gaza, that's the insinuation that it's appropriate behavior to kill people because of what's happening in Gaza.
They don't have an issue then. They will openly be like, this is a white supremacist shooter. He went to a fucking area where there were black and brown people, and they wanted to kill as many black and brown people as possible to fucking spark like a race riot or whatever fucking dumb shit that these crackheads believe, okay? The reason why the media won't actually fucking cover the purpose here is because they
want to be careful not to encourage people to do more of this shit.
Worried about copycats, number one, even though they're obviously worried about copycats in every single circumstance. That's an understandable fear to have. But more importantly than copycats, the reason why the motivation here is left to whatever the Israeli government is saying, even though they're fucking thousands of miles away.
Okay, so now Israeli government controls the narrative. This is what he's saying. He's saying that the reason that they're not talking about it is because Israel runs the world. Hassan, this is fucking insane.
The reason why the narrative is set in this way is because this, if shown to the average American is not exactly favorable on Israel. The average American is not...
Wait, Okay.
exactly going to, they're already selfish. They're already violent. We are predisposed to violence in this country.
Bro, it's so interesting that in his follow-up video, he's like, the narrative is shifting against Israel. And then in this video, the video that he's literally talking about, he's like, yeah, nobody in America gives a shit. Which one is it, Hassan?
We have an incredible amount of tolerance for violent acts. That's
Crazy.
the reason why they don't want to fucking mention this shit. That's the reason why they won't talk about this.
I guess that's why. Yeah, I mean, that makes sense. That's why people in America, your people, didn't vote for Kamala Harris, because they are fucking desensitized crybabies that want exactly everything that they want, and they're not willing to move forward positively. They just want to get exactly what they want, right? Because that would have been really good for Palestine, or better for Palestine than what we got here. If you advocated for them to vote.
In any case, ultimately, knowing full well what the government will do with this information, knowing full well what institutions are doing with this information, organizations like the ADL are trying to get out of this information, two things should come to mind. One, be careful with what you say, even if you are exaggerating or even if you're joking, especially if you have even an anonymous account, because anything and everything you say will always be used against you. That's number one. And number two,
in the court of law,
do not fucking allow any oxygen for victimhood narratives as it pertains to Israel. Okay, that's it. The idea that this is a neo-Nazi that came after Jewish people deliberately looking for Jews to kill, like all of that stuff is incorrect. This is not a value judgment on the actions of the shooter, but it's obvious that this was a person that was brain broken by a lot of the realities that are unfolding in Gaza.
And also by your rhetoric that you push.
And now it's being used by those who seek to defend Israel to try and turn around and further prosecute those who say free Palestine. So many of the Hasbro accounts on the timeline are either A, coming after me and numerous other pro-Palestinian content creators and speakers, but they're also just saying insane shit like the keffiyeh is actually the Nazi armband, or the mention of free Palestine should be fucking considered like it's the mention of free Palestine should be considered as though in the same wavelength as like a neo-Nazi sentiment.
We have 2 people dead in D.C. We have 50,000 dead in Gaza. And how many children starved to death last night? In 1956...
Wait, I'm sorry. Didn't you just say that the news isn't willing to show certain things? This guy seems like he's almost supporting what happened.
Israel invaded Sinai. They invaded Gaza. The United States president at the time, Dwight Eisenhower, put his foot down. And he told the French and the British to get the heck out of the Suez Canal. And he told Israel to get the heck out of Sinai and out of Gaza. Now, where would we be?
This person is the DC shooter's neighbor. This is the DC shooter's neighbor. This is what he's saying.
So we had a president that could have said that 2 years ago.
Excuse me, can you describe again the Elias personality that you met?
Quiet and friendly. Quiet and friendly. Yeah.
What's your age, if you don't mind us asking?
71. Yeah. I'm the guy with all the signs in the window.
What do you hope happens next?
Ceasefire. No more deaths. No more deaths in D.C. No more deaths in Gaza.
What about with your neighbor?
I don't know.
If you could.
You always bring up how our politicians don't respond to this 80-20 issue of stopping weapon shipment to Israel. I think a lot of this reflects that feeling of disenfranchisement people are feeling.
I mean, I agree with what that guy's saying. I think that's the positive, the right message to operate with. It's just interesting that was on Fox News, and Hassan's making it seem like nobody in America really seems to care too much. It seems like there are people who do care, and that's positive advocation and the right way to operate. That's the right thing to say. That's the right way to operate there.
Right now, especially this being a gross condemnable act. That's what it is. That is what it is. The reality of the matter is there's only so much ethnic destruction people watch unfold in front of their eyes, so much moral culpability they experience. And when they go through those motions, there is inevitably always going to be, especially in a country as violent as America, especially in a country where violent narratives are so normalized, there's going to be someone who takes matters in their own fucking hands and engages in vigilante justice. The purpose of avoiding vigilante justice, the purpose of demanding a ceasefire or legal organs of justice to actually take control over the situation of Israel's endless murder and death and destruction is so that there isn't chaos. So that,
if this video was just saying something along the lines of hey, what happened? isn't right, but I understand why it happened, that would be fine. But that's not what's being said. Hassan is doing his best at every turn to downplay the people that were shot, to dehumanize the people that were shot, and to sit here and justify what has happened over and over again, while insinuating heavily and continuously that this was just a false flag event and that Israel is actually responsible. And that's the problem with this video. That's the problem. It is not a nuanced take. It is being as hateful as possible while trying to stay within the boundaries of getting banned, which he couldn't even do. That's all it is.
There isn't vigilante justice. It's the same thing I said after Luigi Mangione. While these two things are not comparable in that same vein, what did I say? It's like the way to avoid this kind of chaotic situation from taking place is to ensure that people have, to ensure that the moral option, which is to allow people to have health care.
Say something to him right now. What would you want to communicate to him? What would you have said if you, like you said earlier, could have talked to him?
Oh, I would have repeated what I've already said. Guns and bombs are not going to end this genocide.
All right. I'm not surprised, I suppose.